Welcome to the Modern Titus to Women Unplugged podcast, where we dive fearlessly into the untold stories and struggles of women's lives. This is a space of authenticity where no topic is off limits. Each episode is a journey of discovery and empowerment, confronting challenges with honesty and vulnerability. From maintaining a home to healing from abuse, balancing motherhood with personal passions, and navigating single parenting, widowhood, divorce, and post-abortion heartbreak, we explore it all. With special guests offering wisdom and perspective, we uncover forgiveness and reignite love in marriage. Join us for soul-stirring conversations. Tune in. Your story matters. Podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, professional advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the management. This podcast may contain adult themes, so parental discretion is advised. So welcome to Modern Titus 2 Women Unplugged podcast. Naomie Thompson is a dating and relationship coach who helps accomplished women dating after divorce or lifetime of wrong relationship to attract and keep the love of their life. So, Naomie, would you mind telling us which country you're streaming from this morning?
Yes, I'm in the UK. I'm in the south of England, and
Right.
it's really lovely to be here, Lorna.
Right. And I did give a high-level overview of your credentials. So if you want to elaborate on that for our listeners, that'd be great. And then what we could also do is go straight into what inspired you to start helping women over 40 get back into the dating world.
Yes, so I'm a certified dating and relationship coach and have been for quite some years now. And I obviously have my more formal training as a relationship coach, but also what I bring, and I think my kind of main credentials really are my personal experience. The experience I went through in my marriage, the experience I've had throughout my life in relationships, and more importantly, what I learned from that experience and how I turned what I learned into a very clear process for women. So they don't really have to, women who come to me shouldn't have to take as long as I did to learn this, because I've kind of learned it along the way and can now teach it. So yes, that's me really. I also train coaches. I train women who want to be dating and relationship coaches, which is absolutely incredible to see these amazing coaches going out in the world making such a difference.
Yeah. I think it's very important when someone is training someone or providing guidance to them that they're actually walked into that person's shoes and can really understand the emotional turmoil and the confusion, especially in you know when you go to infidelity is involved. You start to question who you are as a woman. You start to question, all the things that you did. If you were silly or you were so naive that all these things were happening underneath, and you didn't know because I've had girlfriends who have gone through it, and they keep on talking. There was a particular situation where one of them found out that her husband, she was taken him to the airport thinking that he was going to travel and leaving him there, and the other woman that he was, messing about with, she picked him up and they went and had their fun, and he came back to the airport and she picked him up, and she was like, oh my gosh. She said, what kind of level, what kind of person, what kind of human being could do something so disgusting to another person? And she keeps on talking about it, and then she has some older children, and then, she's talking to them about their dad, and they're like, they don't want to take sides. So
Yeah.
I think your role is very important for women going through all of these different things that you can say, well, this happened to me, and guess what? I'm here, I'm thriving, I'm surviving, I'm living my best life now. So,
Yeah.
let them see there's hope. So that's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. I mean, I've experienced everything from heartbreak, infidelity, being ghosted while dating, I mean, divorce, so many experiences that there's not a lot around the dating world and the whole world of love that I haven't experienced.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I
mhm,
really understand how it is to feel like that craving for a real deep connected love, but not quite knowing how to get there.
mhm, mhm. With the advent of COVID, um, we noticed that a lot of persons, and we're not talking about persons who have just married like 5 years, 4 years, or we're talking about people who are married like 10, 20, 30, 35 years, and they just didn't want to be with this person. I don't know, because they were spending longer time with each other, and they're seeing all the bad habits or whatever. But there was a people just wanted to come out of these relationship. And y- you have any thoughts on that, or has that been your experience with the person that you've been seeing? Are there older people in longer marriages?
I haven't noticed so much of that around COVID. What I suppose what I did notice is that the problems that may have been underlying were more prominent during COVID. So people spending a lot more time together, those problems seemed to have a light shone on them. And
No.
I would say that what's needed in relationship is stoicism. We need
Mhm.
to have a level of stoicism that we're
Mhm.
able to have the difficult conversations, feel slightly uncomfortable sometimes while we're communicating with each other, communicating about our wants and our needs and our desires, how we're feeling, and also being clear about what is important to me in a relationship. So rather than looking at blaming the other person, being upset with the other person, or just leaving when it doesn't feel good, is actually, can you ask yourself and say to yourself, I really gave it 100%. I really worked on my communication, you know, and at that point, I know for
Mhm.
me, I knew I'd
Mhm.
given it 110%. So I was able to walk away feeling like I really gave it everything to keep my family together. However, some relationships are healthier apart, but
Yes.
some relationships with communication can actually really thrive through the tough times.
Do you think we're not taking the time to really look at what we really need, what the values and qualities that we really need in a partner? Sometimes, so the women I speak to, you know, uh, I'm in a church environment, so some of them, oh, I want to marry a pastor and what have you. But a pastor, if you are a woman who likes the picket fence and like a stable home, because some of these pastors do what you call church planting. That means they go to different countries, they start churches, and they hand them over to people, and they move along. So if you want the white picket fence and the stable environment, that's not a husband for you, because
Exactly.
right. So, and I try to explain this to them that, you know, when the Holy Ghost or the higher power speaks to him, he's not going to listen to you saying, well, I don't want to go. You're going to have to figure it out for yourself, but he's going to go. He's going to be, whatever the Holy Spirit tell him or the higher power tell him to do.
Yeah. So sometimes we can have an idea in our head how the relationship we want looks, how the man looks, maybe what kind of job or education he'll have, his financial standing, his society standing. We will, or his standing in community. We will often have an idea of how a relationship looks on the outside. One of the most important things and important first steps is to look at, how do I want to feel in the relationship I'm in? That's going to give you far more clues to, when you are dating with a guy, spending time with him, if this is really right for you. If we look at all the things on the outside, we've got a tick list. A tick list of he's educated doing this, or he's a pastor, or he's got this kind of financial standing. But really, to be able to stay in a relationship and be in a really happy relationship, we need to have what we need on the inside. We need to feel safe, loved, secure. For me, I am someone who needs affection. I couldn't date a man who traveled the world for work. I couldn't do that because I like to see my man regularly.
Right.
And it's that touch. That's more important to me. So actually, yes, a pastor could be a wonderful spiritual man, but what if he's taking all of that loving attention to his missions all over the world, but you actually receive very little of it? That is going to leave you feeling empty inside. Whereas the electrician down the road, or the man who runs the bakery shop, or the man who, runs his own business doing whatever he does, but lives locally, comes home, may make you feel really loved and secure and special.
Right.
So I really urge women not to fall in love with the idea of what they want, but to fall in love with the feeling of what they want, and not fall in love with what other people will think of them. Maybe being the pastor's wife comes with it a certain status, and I feel like, I've made it. But actually, is it worth that if actually inside you feel maybe lonely
Right.
or neglected in some ways because you're
Right.
not having that closeness with your partner? So it's a different place to look.
Right.
How do I want to feel in that relationship?
But a lot of it comes from us as and when we're growing up. We have a composite of what we figure the ideal man is supposed to be. We take pieces of our qualities from our dad, from our uncles, from the past, men who have impact on our lives, and that's the man we go out for searching for. Now, sometimes we say, okay, he doesn't have everything, and then we marry him, and then guess what we try to do? We try to change him, and whip him into shape how we want him. But that doesn't happen, and then that's where the frustration also occurs because there's no perfect man. There's no
Yes,
perfect man.
exactly. And also, you don't want to be meeting someone who's a fixer-upper for you.
Mhm.
All you will do is become like his mother.
Right.
You will be trying to help him and mold him just the way we would with our children. We are guiding them. We're helping them grow as a human. Whereas with your partner or your husband, you actually need to be able to be okay with the foundations of who he is. And there's always learning and growing in a relationship. You can speak up for your needs, and then maybe he will move to meet those needs. But foundationally, his character, his way of being, you want to feel good about that as it is, from the beginning of the relationship or as you get to know each other, rather than thinking, well, I don't like that about him, but I'll work that out. Now, that may work for his dress sense. Some men are happy to be guided by their partner,
Yeah.
and that can change. And,
Yeah.
and often men who are in a partnership live longer and are healthier than men who are not, because they're more likely to eat healthier, eat the home cooked meals, and so on. And go to their doctor's appointments if they have a wife and partner.
Right.
But really, no, you don't want to be trying to mold a man. You want a man who is in the relationship. He really wants to be there. He wants to be committed and married. He wants a family, because if you're trying to mold him, you're going to be trying to mold him forever.
Right. But some of the ladies have also expressed that they're stay-at-home moms. Some of them have husbands who are in high positions in different companies, and they say that they don't want them to work. They want them to be able to pick up the suits at the dry cleaners. They want them to if they have the travel, they can travel together. If he has a business trip, they can travel together and all of that, and plus take care of the home. And when I spoke to you the other day, you said something to me that was very profound, and I wanted to make sure it is captured.
Yeah.
Because you said to me that yes, it's all well and good, you're pouring into the husband, you're completing him and supporting him in whatever his endeavors are, but at the same time, the woman, the wife, needs to have something in place, some form of a pension plan, some form of investment putting aside for her, for lack of a better word, for a pension.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on that? Because I found it to be very profound, and I want to make
Yeah.
sure it's captured here for others.
Yeah, I mean, I am all in favor of building and structuring your family the way you and your partner it really works for your family. If you're bringing up children often really thrive in the kind of model where one partner's at home and one partner is the provider. And actually, it can work for everyone, and it can be far less stressful way than having two providers. Often, when a woman is going out to work, they married, they have children, often the woman will still carry the emotional and domestic labor when she comes home, as
That's
well as
true.
working full time.
That's true.
So that can be tricky. There are nuances there because some people get an awful lot out of having their career. Generally, for children and for a family, having those traditional roles can work really well if everybody feels that their role is being kind of equally respected and valued.
Right.
Now, part of that, as women, we nurture our children, we nurture our home, and traditionally there's been no remuneration for that. So in some ways, we've gone into relationships not expecting that. But what I would always encourage a woman to do, especially if she's younger and going into her first marriage, hopefully her only marriage, wants to have a family, I'd say yes. If you and your husband would love to have those roles where you are at home looking after the home and children, he knows he comes home and there's a meal there and the children have been cared for, and you know that the money is being taken care of by him, then be savvy. Be savvy. Make sure that the family money pays into a pension retirement fund for you. If there is a retirement fund being paid in for your husband, make sure that you have an understanding of what money the family has, that you are on a joint account, because your children at home are no more yours than they are your husband's. Your home is no more yours than it is your husband's. So the same should stand for the money. The money is no more your husband's than it is yours, because it's coming into the family to support the family. So yes, I would say be savvy, start to understand about investments, speak with your partner, your husband, even before marriage, and say, it feels really important to me to talk about this, to talk about how we take care of the money that comes into the family home, and make sure that you are often taken care of, because I don't know the actual statistics, but there are statistics to say that divorced women, as they go into retirement, are much poorer than divorced men. Now, I know that's not the same for every situation. There may be men listening going, no, I came out of my divorce with nothing, and so on. However, there are far more women going into retirement in poverty than there are men, especially when they're divorced.
And the reason being because they don't really know what the financial resources the family have. They're not aware of it, or
and also, you see, while we are raising our children, our husband is able to further his career and further his skills. So it's bearing that in mind. So if you divorce when you're 40, you may have raised your children, but you have no business skills to speak of. You don't have the experience. You don't have a full CV to take to the workplace. Whereas your husband will have been growing his skills, growing his business, moving through his company, maybe, and actually, it's really important as women for us to go, okay, I do want to be at home with my children. My family will benefit from that. But how can I make sure that my retirement is going to be good? How can I make sure the family, as I look after the family with food and a beautiful home and cherishing the children, how can the family money take care of me and my future?
Mm. Yes, very important. And you find this also not even with divorce, but when the husband is deceased, you some women don't even know how to how the bills are paid. They don't know anything. They just know that they're paid, and they, you know they don't know what
Yeah,
account is. So it's very important to have this conversation, the conversation about the finances and where things are, the insurance policies, things that you don't really want to talk about, but you should talk about.
absolutely. Even just there are some wonderful women out there teaching the basics of investment.
Mhm.
And it's so empowering
Mhm.
to understand investment. I mean, I know we're not talking investment in this
Yeah.
conversation, but it's once you start just learning the basics of
Mhm.
funds and retirement funds and different investment funds and ISAs, you kind of suddenly you are you have some personal power over your destiny.
Right.
And what we pray
Mhm.
for and hope for is that you and your husband, you find a way through the ups and the downs of life and you're together till the end. That's the
Mhm.
wonderful outcome. But
Mhm.
it's just making sure that you have some financial savvy.
Right. That's so true. Good information there. So, what are some of the challenges that the women are facing in the dating world here now? What are the challenges?
Well, especially, women over 40. Now, all sorts of women, obviously of all ages, can experience these challenges. But if a woman has found she's gone through many years of the wrong relationships or she's dating after a divorce, one of the challenges she comes to me with is,
Mhm.
I don't trust myself to choose a good partner. I don't trust myself to go for somebody unlike my ex-husband or my ex-boyfriends. They seem different to start with, but I always seem to end up with the same kind of guys.
Mm.
So that is one of the most common things I help women with, is turn around their man picker, for want of a better word. So they
Okay.
actually, their old habit of choosing a guy who's
Mhm.
maybe not very affectionate or communicative, or he's hot and cold. She's left
Mhm.
feeling confused with him.
Right.
I help her turn around those old habits so she feels more drawn to and attracts the
Right.
solid, loving, commitment-minded man. Um,
Mhm.
Another is jumping in too quickly.
Mhm.
Often women will want to jump in really quick. They meet a guy, it's like, he's amazing, and he says all the right things. And and really, there, I would just say, let a man show you with his consistent actions over time if he is a great partner.
Right.
Can he do partnership?
Mhm.
Can he have the conversations that are difficult?
Right.
Can he handle a woman with feelings? Because we're women and we feel a lot.
Right.
Is he able to not run away as soon as you feel upset about something?
Mhm.
So jumping in too quickly is one of the challenges, because we just
Mhm.
go, oh, I want love, I want love. And I would say a third big one, Lorna, is being afraid to open their heart again. It's like, I've been hurt and I'm afraid to open my heart.
Mhm.
And what I'd say to that is, I was there. I discovered my husband had had an affair. It was awful. I felt broken. But what I realized is if I grow as a woman, if I grow my inner strength,
Mhm.
and we can grow our inner strength in so many ways, developing ourselves as a person, learning and understanding about our patterns in relationships. And then you can trust yourself to be okay no matter what happens in life
Mhm.
when you've got inner strength. So then, and knowing as well that God has your back,
Mhm.
as well as we spoke about financial savvy, but as well as having some dating savvy and relationship savvy, having an
Mhm.
understanding of what happens in relationships, what the habits and patterns that couples can get into, understanding the dating process and how to date in a way that feels empowering. All of that gives you a strong foundation to be able to open your heart again and know that there are ups and downs in life, but you're strong enough to handle it.
Right. I've had discussions with women, and they said, like when they start to date, and the guy asks them, what they like and all that. They blurt out everything. They give them the whole shebang, the whole shopping list. And I'm saying, why would you want to do that? No, if I want a pink slippers and it have fluffy pink slippers, and you tell him that you like fluffy pink slippers, he's gonna buy fluffy pink slippers for you. You're not gonna see what his taste is. You're not gonna really see what is the thought process he had when you wanted the slippers, for example. So if you tell him all of that, he's gonna fit into that mold of what you're projecting, that you want the man that you want to date to look like. He's gonna put himself in that role and make sure that he fits. But at some point, the mask is gonna come off, and you're gonna see. So I said, give him an opportunity and see what he comes up with. If you're going out on a date, let him choose the date, let him choose the place, whatever it is, and you just follow and see what he comes up with.
Yeah, absolutely. Any man can change his behavior for a short amount of time, as can any woman.
Yes.
We can all, as you said, put on that mask or step into that role. What you want to do, and it's a subtle difference, and I'd say what I encourage and teach women to do is, instead of telling him what she wants him to do, she talks about how she feels. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if a man comes along on a date and he wants her to pay half on the date, instead of her saying to him, well, I would prefer you paid because it's the right way, a man should pay on a date. Instead of saying that, she could actually tell him how it makes her feel. So saying to a man, well, I can afford to pay for half of the date. However, it feels kind of unromantic to me. And I feel if I pay on a date, I feel like I'm out with a friend or a brother, and it kills the romantic connection. Mm-hmm. And then asking the man what he thinks, and then you can have a dialogue. So there's a difference between telling him, this is how I want my man to be, versus this is how I want to feel in a relationship, and this is what I'm looking for me. I'm looking for, I'd like to have children. I'd like to be married one day. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for a committed relationship. And then let his character emerge. We don't want to try and mold his character. We want to just see his character.
Right.
So because a man will tell you a lot about who he is in the early months of dating. Yeah. And especially as you get over the 3-month mark, more and more he will show you. And how, the groove that you start in is often the groove that it continues in. So if you're having to mold him to be something that you want, you're just going to keep on molding, girl. You're just going to keep on. Yeah. And that will feel like you're nagging. So yes, talking about how you want to feel and keeping it about you rather than what you're expecting from him.
Right. What role does self-love and self-care play in attracting and maintaining, a healthy relationship? Self-love for us women.
Self-love is huge. A woman who stands comfortably in her body and herself with all the imperfections that every one of us have. A woman who can just love herself regardless of the lumps and the bumps, the stretch marks, the everything, and also the things that we think are character faults, all the things that we beat ourselves up for. When we can just love ourselves regardless, that is one of the most attractive qualities to men. Mm-hmm. And also what happens is when we just love ourselves for who we are, even all our vulnerabilities and everything, we are going to show up so much more confident with men. We are going to be able to turn up to dates with our hearts open instead of our hearts closed. Also, our standards will be higher because we know how it is to feel really loved to a high standard, because you can, the standard with which you love yourself is going to be the highest, you know, the love that you give to yourself. If you know, there is a saying out there, they say you can't be fully loved until you fully love yourself. I don't quite agree with that. For me, it's I can't fully experience and receive love until I fully love myself, or love myself as much as I can. We can have people around us that love us dearly, but if we do not love ourselves, it's very hard to receive their love. So we will still keep our walls up. We'll still keep our hearts closed. So really, to have a loving relationship with a partner, we also need to be cultivating a loving relationship with ourselves. And that for me is the same with self-care and self-love. And the self-care isn't about, I need to look a certain way to get love, but it's like, how do I want to feel? I love my makeup. I love my man admiring me. I love making him feel good when I wear things that I love to wear also.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when I speak to some of the women and that are dating, and they said, "My goodness, you know that I was interacting with someone on the app, and she did some investigation, and she found out the man was actually married." So you have all kind of different persons on these apps, you know, and they've gone out, and she said that the picture doesn't look like the person doesn't look like anything like the picture that I have on the profile and things like this. So how do we separate the sheep from the goats?
The sheep from the goats. I love that. Okay, so if we remember that you know, it's when we are looking for love in a relationship, we need to be visible. We need to be visible. And whether we go to meetups, to church gatherings, we do voluntary work in our workplace or a dating app, we are being visible. We are showing up and being visible. So a dating site is a wonderful way to be visible to single men. But remembering, you're not just going to be visible to the kind of men you want. You're going to be visible to everybody on that dating site.
Right.
So on that dating site, everybody is looking for a connection of some kind. Not all of them are looking for the same connection you are. Some men will be looking for something casual or hookups or marriage or so many polyamorous relationships. I mean, people are looking for all sorts. But what's important is how do you dress your window, your dating profile? Let's start there. Be straight. If you are looking for, if what is so important to you is marriage, starting a family, and somebody who has some kind of religious, spiritual connection, whether that's in your religious faith or that they have a spiritual connection, if that is non-negotiable for you, say it.
Right.
Put yourself, if you are, you know, I know your community is a church community. There are plenty of Christian dating sites where you are going, your window then is going to be visible to people who are much more likely to be a good match for you. And also remembering a spiritual connection can come in many forms. For some people, they feel connected to whoever God is to them when they are out sailing and they feel the wind on their face. That's when they feel God. Some people show up to church and that's how they feel God. So remembering, keep your heart open. What you want is a partner who is open. But yes, so there are lots of different people on those dating sites, but it's remembering there are processes and ways you can filter to a certain extent. But the questions you ask early on, asking a man, what's important to you in a relationship? You know, I'd love to know what you're looking for on here. you're already going to start understanding what kind
Mm-hmm.
of relationship he's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't waste your time with someone who's looking for something completely different.
Exactly. Exactly. So, some of the women who have been on these dating sites, going out dating, they're exhausted, they feel beaten up, and they just can't be bothered. They're going to be thrown in the towel. What advice do you have for them?
I would say, my darling, you can't. There is, in my world, there's no such thing as failing at love. You either keep going or you give up. And I never want anyone, and I will never let any of the women I work with give up. But there are two ways of keeping going. You can either keep going, doing the same things that you've always done,
Mm-hmm.
and keep attracting the same kind of guys again and again and again, and the same kind of relationships. Or you keep dating, but you learn how to date in a way that is more powerful, more intentional. You look at what is actually really important to me, and you don't entertain anything less than you really desire. So what I mean by that is if a man says he's looking for something casual, don't date him if you want a relationship. There's
Right.
no judgment on him. He might be a perfectly nice man. But often we think, oh, well, maybe he'll just change his mind when he gets to know how great I am. No,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
believe him. Entertaining less than you desire is going to have you feel burnt out and exhausted. And also remembering, unless you happen to have been widowed, in which case you may have had a really lovely, great relationship, but then you've lost that relationship. For many women, when they get to midlife, they are not at that point. Maybe they're divorced. And so really, we have to retrain ourselves to be attracted to guys who can really give you that solid, loving, stable relationship that you want. And that is part of dating in a more powerful way, where you learn, you learn how to be turned off the guys that you used to be attracted to
Right.
and more turned on to these solid, loving guys.
Yes. 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 I wanted to touch base. I think the last time we did touch base on it. How can women balance feminine and masculine energy in their
Oh,
relationship? Because we know that a lot of us are in senior positions in companies. We have hundreds of people that report to us. A lot of them are men, and how can we in the relationship make sure that we remain feminine and leave the boardroom hat in the boardroom?
it's a wonderful question, a wonderful question. So if we were to kind of really look at the basic principles of masculine and feminine energy. So masculine energy is about thinking, feminine is feeling. Masculine is giving, feminine is receiving. Masculine is doing, feminine is being. So masculine energy is that action-oriented, problem-solving, doing, giving energy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The feminine energy is about being, sensing, receiving, intuition,
Right.
feeling. I mean, I know I've said the word feeling quite a few times, but really it is about feeling. As women, we are not used to being in our feminine energy unless we have a massage or, when we really stop, or we have our yoga class, but we may still be up in our head thinking, oh my gosh, they're more bendy than I am. So we use our masculine energy when we're raising our children. It's a very healthy way to use it. We are nurturing our children. We are helping them and guiding them. We are problem solving. We are strategizing. We often bring our masculine energy to our work. It can give us that feeling of excitement for our work. It can give us that motivation. It's a wonderful, healthy energy, and men and women have both. The problems come when we try and bring our strategic, problem-solving, action-oriented energy to dating and relationships.
Mm.
If you are married and you're bringing that energy, you may feel like you are married to your brother.
Right, right,
You may
right.
feel like your roommates, or he's more like a son and you feel like to get anything done, you need to nag him.
Mm.
That will be because the polarity has slipped out, that his masculine energy has become more passive and feminine. Women don't like the word passive because we think of 1950s housewives. This is very different to that.
Mm-hmm.
This is very different. And maybe another time we have a deeper conversation about it.
Okay.
And then what's happened is our energy has become more masculine. Now,
Mm.
sometimes in these modern times as women, especially single mums, they have to be everything.
Right,
They
right.
have to, raise their children, be mum, dad, be everything. They have to think of everything. They have to provide financially. So it's no wonder we end up with this fiercely independent masculine energy. Get
Mm.
things done, move it
Right.
forward, go and get what you want. So in the dating process, when we bring that energy, but we're still we're like, oh, I really want a guy who's going to plan the dates and pay for dinner and be romantic.
Right.
We need to bring our feminine energy to dating. We need to let him lead and see if he's a good leader. Rather than, if we lead the relationship, if we lead the dating, we do not see whether or not he can be a good leader. If he's someone, can I trust him to make good decisions for our family? Or is he just going to get bored of a job and give it up and be unemployed?
Mm.
Is he going to just run with his emotions rather than being the logical, thinking, protective member of our family?
Right.
So by allowing a man to lead in the dating process and being in your feminine energy, and it's something I had to learn and learn and learn with my coach, you get to see how a man shows up naturally, which is what you want. And
Right.
a man who's in his masculine energy, a man who's a good leader, provider, protector, he's looking for a woman in her feminine. He's looking for a woman who will trust him to
Mm-hmm.
make decisions and handle his mistakes, and who is going to appreciate the gifts he gives her, the gifts of
Mm-hmm.
time or money or provision, whatever it is. So there's a whole lot more to this, and there's a lot of nuances. But if you want that juicy spark in a relationship, then polarity and masculine and feminine polarity will change everything for you, as it did for me. 100% changed.
Right, right, right. Well, we can't leave out our sisters who have who have been in long-term relationship. They want to know how they can keep romance and excitement alive in their long-term relationship.
Well, again, that comes down to the masculine and feminine energy.
Mm.
It's feminine energy it's strong. It's not a kind of a passive, weak energy. Feminine energy is about going, what's important to me? What do I love doing? What have I sacrificed for this relationship that's actually taken away a part of me?
Mm-hmm.
Do I love dancing? Do I love art? What did I do before I was in this relationship that really lit me up, that
Mm-hmm.
soothed my soul? Do I
Right.
make time for my prayer and devotion to my spirituality? Do
Mm.
I make time to be out in nature or to move my body or do the things I love? And the more we do the things we love in a relationship, the less resentment we feel towards our partner,
Right.
because
That's true.
we are not looking for everything in him. The expectation on one person to be your best friend, your lover, your confidant, your everything is a huge weight to bear. So I would say
Mm-hmm.
to a woman, make sure you have your sisterhood. Make sure you have women that you could connect with. So you're not relying on your husband to be everything for you.
Right.
Make sure you do things you love.
Mm-hmm.
Shift your focus from trying to fix and change the relationship, and shift that focus onto you and your life and doing things that you love. And then
Mm-hmm.
I would also say is learning how to communicate your wants and needs and desires.
Right.
A man is, men often, they do their best, but they're not mind readers. So it's actually, how do you communicate what you really need? You know, I'd love to go on a date soon. I'm feeling like we're losing that romantic spark. What do you think? And just seeing if his leadership steps up to that, and if he responds. So there's quite a few things in there, but you can do so much to turn around a relationship, even without couples therapy. You know, you can, by shifting the energy that you radiate and the energy inside of you, your whole relationship can turn around. And I've seen that again and again.
Wow. Well, we could go on, because these are very interesting interesting topics, but we have to say bye soon. So, is there any wise words, any quotes, anything that you use to motivate yourself that
Oh,
you'd like
yeah.
to share with
Yes. And one of the things is, from, you know, the last thing we were speaking about, you know, about self-love and self-care, and really making sure you fill up your cup first, you know, you really fill
right.
yourself up, is it was a quote by Eartha Kitt. And, you know, an incredible woman, an incredibly strong woman with an incredibly hard life and a very unsuccessful relationship life. But she was constantly learning and growing. And one of the things she said that always sticks with me, she says, I fall in love with myself, and I invite someone to share it with me. I invite someone to share me with me. And with that, I say to a woman, don't worry about working out whether you have fallen in love with him or not. Fall in love with yourself, fall in love with your life, fall in love with how you feel with him, and let him fall in love with you. And that's going to be the kind of relationship where your man is pursuing you and courting you for the rest of your life. And if any of your listeners are feeling like something in this conversation is really connecting with them, you know, I have a couple of gifts that I'd love to give your community.
Okay.
One is, I have a totally free audio training. And I will give you the link, Lorna, so people can get that. You also will get, you know, advice from me on dating and relationships. You can reply to me and ask me questions, and I answer those questions in my newsletters. And also, I would love to offer any of your listeners who are just at the point where they're going, I actually want to change, but I don't know how to get there, to come and have a completely free 30-minute call with me. There's no obligation, but come and talk with me, and let's see if I can help you. And I'll be really honest. If I can help, then I'll say, and if I can't help, I'll say. So those two gifts I would love for your community to have.
Okay. We can put it in the notes, the podcast notes. I think we can put it there, and they will be able to get it.
Wonderful.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much. This was so insightful. You know, so many nuggets of wonderful information, and especially the whole thing about women being prepared, especially women that stay-at-home moms, to really sort out the financial.
Yeah.
You know, they need to really do that. So many beautiful nuggets. So thank you so much, and I'm sure the ladies are gonna want you to elaborate at some point on some other of the areas that we touched on. So,
That would be my pleasure.
I thank you so much. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you.